right? All right, so wake up. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here today, and I feel very happy that I have a chance to be here to tell you about my experience. How many of you here have a published paper in a so-called first-rank conference in computer science? Computer science. So 1, 2, 3, 4. How many of you here is undergraduate? All right. So how many of you here submit the paper and get rejected? Many. How many of you thinking that coming here have some secret recipe that make you able to publish first rank paper? That's good, because if you have that expectation, you can leave the room now. Because you have to work hard to get the paper published. So because it have to be well-rounded. So it's not just simply I don't have any secret for this. Okay. So I just want to share my experience for how to write a paper, how to cover all the weaknesses, make your paper more well-rounded so that they don't have a reason to reject your paper. All right. So when you write paper, a traditional way is that you have problem definition. Somebody define for you, or you devise by yourself, and then you sit there day and night to develop your solution, and then you write the paper. That's a typical process, right? And sometimes it's go the other way. You write some paper, nice solution, you come up with some variant. You say, I can make up this variant, but this solution can solve my variant. And then you go the other way. And sometimes when you write the paper and you say something wrong, I need to go back to conduct the research, right? And then it's go vice versa. So first of all, if you want to get paper accepted, you have to cover all the three: problem, solution, and writing. I think most of us here interested in the writing more, right? Of course, you need everything to get a good paper. For example, when you eat a good food, right? The chef, the famous, make you a good food. In order for him to make that good food, he have very fresh ingredient for you, right? But he have to serve on a very beautiful plate for you to feel, wow, this is first rank. This the same thing for the paper as well. All right. So we have to have a good problem, novel solution, writing nice, because we have to respect everybody's time, why they spend time to read your paper. All right, so I'm going to talk about, can you hear me or I talk to, okay. All right, so I want to talk about writing. All right, you have to effectively sell your idea, right? 1 minute of reading, 1 minute reading, can they get your pin? What the message you want them to see right away? You have something very catchy. So when I came here, the first sentence I said, is that catch your attention or no? If you say no, I will leave now. All right, and 5 minutes of reading, they should be able to get your intuitive ideas. What you want to tell us, they get it right away. They know your contribution right away. Wrong or right, we're not talking about it yet. But at least they know that this is something I want to read further, right? Or else after 5 minutes, there can come up many excuses to reject your paper, right? Because you imagine you don't see the other side. They send you 20 papers to review. We will have many deadlines until the last minute. Oh my God, I have to process all these 20 papers. And then unluckily, you get to the hand that they don't have expertise, right? In the field, in exactly the topic that you write. So then it's very much they scan on it and they don't get the idea. It seems like you don't respect me, my time. Why spend time to dig into your idea? All right, so that's the whole thing. If after you write the paper, you read as a reader, not as the author, and you don't get the message that you want to sell, then you need that, know that you need to rewrite your paper. All right, so how to make that happen? So number one, policy, I've been hearing that because of my English. It's not because of English. At most, it's just your grammar error, right? But it's I feel not. So how many of you here thinking that because you are Vietnamese, you are able to write poem in Vietnam? So a different level. So don't make English foreign language as a skill that on my paper adapted because it's English, right? And now we have ChatGPT, for example, they can revise. Hey, don't cut and paste. What I mean is that they revise the language for you. You write your own paragraph, you cut and paste there, they can revise for you so it sounds smoother and it correct all the grammar error for you. And of course, read what they revise because they may revise wrongly. But what I said that don't excuse that because of your English. But you have to know how to write. And write is a writing skills, right? You read some book, you appreciate this book, you don't the other book, because the writing skill is not to your text, the same thing poems, right? So the paper also writing skill as well, and this can be learned. It's much easier, okay? It's much easier than writing poem, right? So this can be learned. So let's see. All right. So when I say effective communication, right, I talk about 1 minute or 5 minutes. So actually, in one paper, you have one central message, one take-home message. If you have many messages to tell the readers, then write many papers, right? So remember, don't say too much, don't say too many things. Eventually, they don't know what. And the more you talk about, the more they expect, and they say, oh, it's nothing, right? So carry one central message. And you have to have a hook right away. When they read it, they will say, oh, why I need to spend more than 5 minutes to continue reading your paper? So one message is clear, it's easier to carry, but how to make a hook, right? That's a different story. So here the paper composition in computer science. So I'm doing research in computer science, so I just talk about paper in computer science only, all right? So title, everyone will read the title. When you submit the paper, we're talking about submit a paper, or the reviewer, or the PCJ, or they will scan on the title, everyone, right? The abstract. Then after they see the title, then specific interest in that topic will read. The number of readers, it gets smaller, smaller. So let's say you have 1,000 people read your title, maybe 100 people like the topic itself, will read it, the abstract. After read the abstract, and then they read the introduction, and decide to continue to read the paper or not. All right. And then they will scan, if they still like it, they scan a problem and preliminary to see what is actually the paper about, right? So this is the last touch before they drop your paper or they will continue. All right. So when they read the introduction, they don't need to read line by line, right? They don't need to read line by line. So that's why I said 5 minutes, very quickly to read. So I will show you what people read in the right way and how you write in the right way a little bit later when we touch all the way to the paragraph. And then proposed approach. This may be only 5 people read this, all right? After it gets published, then many people read it, and especially the PhD student who do research in your field will read it. But the reviewer, not many read it. All right, so like you feel like this, it's the core of your solution. You spend most of your time to get this result, right? But when the paper review, you don't have that many people read the paper. Read this part. And then related work, right? So the related work here, or it may bounce back because it's a sorry. All right, so this related work here, sometimes it go in here, right? Sometimes it go at the end. So that we don't need to talk more about this because it depends on the problem you solve. Sometimes you feel that I want to compare and show how novel my paper is, I would appear. Sometimes the problem is so well known, it's separated, and I would at the end. So it's not big deal for the related work. But of course, it's not big deal in the writing, but you still make sure you include the most of the key major papers. Actually, this is not record, okay? Some professor said that, oh, they study exactly my problem. They don't cite my paper. And then the paper get rejected. All right, any questions so far? Do I talk so fast or you slow the, okay. All right. So the first yes. Mhm. So that is the structure of the paper. You guys know the structured paper. So I'm going to talk in each part later. But that's usually structured paper, and you can think out of the box. You don't need to think the same thing, right? But like for example, the proposed solution, you can have a couple of sections in there if your solution is complex enough. I will show a little example later on. So all right, so we have think back, and then well, no one read conclusion and future work, uh, but you still have to write it. Uh, and actually, if you read math paper, the theoretical paper in math, they never write conclusion because conclusion is almost look like abstract, right? In this paper, I study X, Y, Z, my solutions is super good, and so on. And also, actually, in math people, they don't spend much time to sell the paper either. Oh, sorry, I forgot. They don't spend much time to sell the paper either because what they sell is very fundamental. It's so clear. They jump into here, main result, proof, 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 proof. And the advertists will read it, they know right away. But for computer science, the field is so dynamic. A lot of them don't have the expertise that you think they will understand the paper. So that's why you need to sell. That's why you need to walk them through your paper. All right. So title. Oh, title I just skipped. Well, spend some time to come up with some cool title, huh? Um, I spent some time to think of my title too. All right, so the abstract. Usually, I write that as the last one. After you get all the paper done, you know what you want to do and what your paper has. So I write it last, and normally it's 4 to 5 sentences. So you can go in and state the problem, why this problem is so interesting, why people want to study this problem, and what challenges, and the little bit flexible to state how important this problem is, for example. But if you study some problem that people have been studying, then you just simply just in this paper we studied this and done with. You don't need to brag about the importance of the paper of the problem, right? So it depends on the nature of the paper it's about. So um, you guys know the very well-known book of the guy who get the economist prize, Think Slowly, right? Oh, yeah, think fast or slowly. Yeah, that how this one works. It's
Professor, me, can I ask a question about the abstract? So you say we should like report the impact or show the impact of our paper, but how? Like, should we like report directly the model performance in computer science? We report like our model surpass the current state of the art with an accuracy of 100% or something. Or how we can show the impact here? My question is.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question, and that's why I put the word impact question mark. So it depends on what you develop and propose solution. If it's something like simple, I increase in living percentage, and then you don't want to say that because you don't want to lose only 4 sentences. You don't want to lose one sentence for something that is not needed. So when you write it down, you think that it's needed or not. All paper out there, none of the paper out there say that my experience is my solution is worse than any existing solution, right? But when in package, like if you have something really big that is it's a core solution of something else. So it depends on. I will show some example later on, but But again, it depends on the nature of your papers. And let's see. So, all right. So the introduction. Most of the time, people struggle with this the most, right? The introduction. We don't. We write right before we write the abstract. Right, so most of the time we come in and we write a problem, definition, solution, experiment, and after we support all the idea, and then we say, what's the central message I want to portray? And then you decide to write the introduction. So the introduction, the goal of introduction is usually describe the problem. Right? So if the problem, existing problem, nothing new, then you just directly state the problem and highlight current shortcomings right away. That's the first paragraph, right? Yeah, for this problem have been studied, however, XYZ, right away. You don't need to go back and say, oh, today the technology evolving, economy so good, the weather beautiful, and XYZ, and then the problem. Then you waste one paragraph for no reason, right? Because the problem you will know, then you said, we study this problem and here are the shortcomings, and right away criticize the current existing solution. But if you introduce a new problem, you have to spend some time here to justify the motivation and its benefit of study. Why people spend several months to investigate this problem. Okay, so if the problem new, so that's why when you pick up any problem to study, you saw some paper published before that, they are very long, right? Some of the federated learning just come out, and they will say many things, the benefit of federated learning and the disputes, privacy preserving, and then they study some problem. But after a couple of years, you never saw that kind of paragraph anymore. They just go directly what the problem they study. All right. So be careful of that. So if you come up with a new problem, you spend time to talk about it. If you study the existing problem, you just simply highlight the current shortcomings and go directly to your contribution. All right. So using example is a very good way, right? Some people like start with a diagram, right? So use the example is a good way to illustrate it, your ideas. And then maybe one central example go through the paper if you need to analyze a lot of paper, a lot of things surrounding one example. Don't keep jumping around a lot of example, because if the 5 minutes you jump the example, they may misunderstood something else. All right. So after the first paragraph, or maybe two, depend on the problem you study, and then you have to state the challenges. The shortcomings and the challenges are two different things, right? Shortcoming that the literature haven't studied that, and or it's not scalable, or yeah, that kind. Right? A solution is a prediction only 70%. Let's say that is shortcomings. But the challenges is why it's so hard to tackle those shortcomings. So that's the challenges. Be direct, no need to be wordy, direct to the point. But at the high level, why is it at the high level? Anyone know why at the high level? Yes, because introduction.
I think it's because it's just an introduction, so you shouldn't go really into details about it. Just briefly explain, and then you can elaborate in further parts.
Yep, that's a good answer. So if you elaborate later, where is that? Can you think? Set the challenges and how to tackle that. Here we just talk at high level. Yes, it's introduction, so it keep it high, so that they understand, what challenges, and you can elaborate later on. Where is that later on? Where do you think? So right after introduction, if we follow a typical structure, it's the problem definition and prelim stuff, right? So where is the you have a chance to tell more in detail? Hmm? The discussion part. Where is that discussion part? Mm-hmm. All right, so let's say if we use this structure, right? So here we have proposed approach, right? So it means that this approach you have to take detailed solution, right? Before you go detailed solution, right? And then you say, I come up with the brilliant idea, 1 + 1 = 2, for example, right? And that able to address these challenges. That way you say, so they don't read your detailed solution, but they know, the hopper is right here. These people quite smart, they're able to come up with that. But some reviewer very have expertise in your field. It don't think that none of them have. They can appreciate that. Okay, so that way. Okay. Um, all right, and then third paragraph, your solution, right? How you tackle the challenges, and again in the high level, because here you haven't defined any notation, define your solution. Describe your solution, so they know where you talk in detail. And when you talk to detail, you lose the audience because they don't understand what you're talking about. So, how you tackle the challenges? I invent this theorem or something like that, right? It's very high level. And then you confirm your contribution by, I'm able to prove this theorem, that theorem, or in my experiment with real data set or simulation, and compare with the state of the art solution, and I get 90%, that kind of language. So you confirm your contribution. All right, that's all for the introduction. Easy, right? Yes. How do you know if your problem is new? All right, so you come up your solution, or your advisor give you you said your problem or your solution? A problem. So who give you the problem? You define it, or your advisor give it to you? Okay, you define it. All right. So if your advisor give to you, just trust her or him. You devise it, right? What made you devise that problem? So you said you want to devise a new attack. So devise a new attack is not a problem, it's solution. Do something. So what is the attack you want to attack? Okay, all right. So what you said here, it means that you devise a different, let me use that word, different attack to the backdoor attack problem. So what you tackle the backdoor attack problem with is not new, right? That's the problem. Now your solution is new, novel, or incremental. That is based on the nature of your solution, right? That we can talk a little bit later on. But that problem is not, because that's the backdoor attack problem. So that is not new. You know that not new, right? So if you come up with any name, you can Google very quickly now, right? It's so easy now, or even ChatGPT maybe gives you some related papers. Well, sometimes I give you the wrong title. It doesn't exist. So if you search, give me a list of related paper on, let's say, blockchain. They give you some nice title. You search that paper, it doesn't exist. But be positive. Use the title for your paper. Don't feel sad. All right. Yes.
Felix, can you?
You said that if we introduce an existing problem, so we don't need to introduce about that problem in the introduction. But I think that in the computer science, so there are many like subtopic, and we're not sure that all reviewer know about that topic. For example, let take the feathered learning. So feathered learning is an old topic, but not reviewer know about feathered learning. So how do you think about we give a short introduction about feathered learning so all people can catch that problem quickly?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the question. So So I hope that people on Zoom don't have problem here with coffee. Oh, thank you so much. All right, so we have to state the problem. We cannot skip that. Here, directly state the problem. But what I meant that we don't need to be worried to spend one paragraph to talk about the things that been hearing many times already. So let's say 10 years ago, the social media, right, very popular, and whoever mentions about misinformation, it's so new. No one think about that. So they spend the whole long paragraph to describe what's misinformation, how easy to do the crowdsourcing, and make people believe in the false information, and they're very worried, right? And then they convince you that, oh, it's so important to study this problem. Then the second paragraph will be defined more like optimization stuff. So that's what I meant if it's new. But today, if you study misinformation, you don't need to convince anyone about misinformation in social media, how is it have a negative impact on the economy, or you know, you don't need that. But you said that in this paper, we study misinformation which will be formulated at this optimization XYZ. Even though there are many papers already address this problem, however, there are some shortcomings, A, B, C, D, and so on. That's what I meant to say. Yeah. So it depends on, because if the problem, if you really to yourself, if you feel that I get sick of seeing this first paragraph, then it means that you shouldn't write it. But if you feel like it's still important, then you still write it. So actually, it's to your own feeling for that one. Yes. Your paper, you got hear her question, right? So
Maybe
if the paper,
you can repeat because we have an online audience and people can hear the question. Okay.
Okay, so instead of writing a full paragraph for the problem that already exists for so long, but maybe hardly seen like what she says, so can I just cite the source that other people, they define the problem clearly?
all right, so we are talking about computer science paper. We don't talk about math paper, okay? Math is totally different field. So in computer science, so first of all, your paper, you talk at a conference, right? We're talking about conference paper, not journal. So it should be standalone. If right at the beginning of sentences of your paper, they only have to dig into somewhere else to know what you study. It's a little bit inconvenient, right? What the problem you study, not more than the 1 minute already. So you should redefine. But what I'm trying to say is that because if the paper, the problem already exists, don't spend too much time talking motivation. That's what I meant. The problem itself have to redefine. No matter how old, how new, we have to define the problem we want to study, right? And also, it gives you a clear context later on for your paper as well. Because the paper you cite maybe have a slightly different variant, it confused, right? Yeah. But of course, later on in related work, you can cite, right? In related work, you can cite, for example, the viral marketing. People always said that can be have the first one define this problem and showing that it's NP complete. For example, every single paper cite that paper. So that's a good way to get the number of citation, come up with a new problem. So that people have to cite your paper. Yeah, and also because we talk about citation, I want to say about related work. Don't trash anyone work. Don't come in, oh, this paper is so bad, accuracy. You don't need to trash someone to make yourself beautiful. All right? Right? You have to appreciate, credit them. They do this, I do this. But in this context, they haven't done it yet, for example. Okay? Don't like nasty comment their paper. That doesn't make you beautiful, right? So be careful with that. All right, so for the introduction, imagine you are peeling an onion, layer after layer. Okay, so the whole paper like that. Until at the end, to the conclusion, they see the whole core of your onion. Okay, don't jump into the core right away. It takes time. And normally, I said, I write later. After you are very clear with your technical solution and contribution, then you know what the message you want to take home. All right. All right, so now introduction. Do not brag your paper. Right? An empty can indeed doesn't sound loudly. Don't think thùng rỗng kêu to, right? So you brag, they have expectation, and then they go to the solution. I said, oh my God. So we have another saying, right? So we have thùng rỗng kêu to, right? But we also have saying đầu voi đuôi chuột, right? So that is exactly if you brag. So do not brag, but do not humble either, right? Don't say, oh, it's very simple solution, right? You don't want to make them feel like, why this group spent half year on this paper? Why I just 1 or 2 minutes, I understand the solution already. Don't be humble either, right? You have to tell exactly how novel, but don't write the whole journey either. Oh, I approaching this problem, this one, and then eventually 5 days later, I figure out it's wrong or something like that. Do not write your journey. However, when you conduct your research, write down some note. When you see the challenges, oh, why it took me so long to find something right here. Note that to yourself so that later on, when you write paper, you remember that is the challenges that why people have to overcome, right? So yeah, but don't write the whole journey on the introduction. All right, so just state exactly that. So be sound and solid. Every single word you write have to be precise and correct. We write a scientific paper, we don't write.
So online audience, please mute your mic, please.
So we write the scientific papers. We don't write fiction. But fiction have the rule too. They don't write something nonsense either, right? So make sure it sounds solid. So whatever you can do, you claim, you have to have the evidence to support your claim. Okay. All right. So be clear. Your reader don't have a job of guessing, right? They don't need to sit there and guess what this author meant, right? Be clear. Especially if your language is, your English is not good, then the direct language is much better than trying to be wordy and then they don't understand. So actually the hook is all appear right here in the introduction, right? They decide to read further or not, it's here. All right. So the key point when you write the whole introduction that I mentioned, you make sure that the paper, the goal is for knowledge distillation, right? No guessing and clear and sound. All right. So that's all you want. So normally the introduction is roughly a page, roughly, right? Depend on the format of the conference. But that's all we have. So how to check if your introduction is good? Put your paper away for a week or so. Go back and read as a reader, not as an author, and see if you wanted to read this paper further or not. If you yourself don't even want it, then you know, rewrite the whole thing. Yeah.
Actually, our students try to write a subject paper, several minutes before the deadline, and it's hard. Also, I think you will have advice for our students on that later on here.
All right. Yeah. Especially for the early career researcher, we tend to grab things up and work until the last minute and submit. I guarantee you 99% all that paper get rejected. Correct? That because we don't have enough time to polish, right? You cannot massage the paper because at most you just say, I correct some grammar here and there. But a lot of paper when your student write the first round, second round, third round, you almost need to rewrite the whole introduction. Most of the time, to my student, I end up rewrite the whole thing. So I tell them that when I get a job, I never know that I become the English professor. Most of my time, I revise the paper. So until they're able to write one solid paper by themselves, I don't talk about technical solution, but the whole writing part, and they graduate. And I have new one coming, and this whole cycle starts. But not last minute. It's really hard to get the paper done in last minute.
How about the internal review? Like one student shares the manuscript to all the members of the research lab, and then they got some feedback.
Yes, we can do that, but still you have to get done couple. I always ask my student, your final manuscript on my table at least 2 weeks before the deadline. Because sometimes I need to rewrite the whole thing. But before I rewrite it, I want to give you a chance to learn and how to revise the paper yourself and again. And then maybe until the last day, I'm the one who revises. But if don't send to me that early, because we're talking about first rank conference. Even your paper very good, but because of random review process, you only get it rejected, right? So, but if your paper not good, then more than likely it get rejected. So we need to have time for the writing. Actually, writing very important. Yeah. So last minute don't work. Yeah, the final manuscript that the students think they are ready for you to read should be 2 weeks, because more than likely you turn it back, right, and ask them to write more. All right. So he mentioned that instead you read the paper, right? Send your lab mate, yeah, and see what they think about, because your lab mate, a lab reviewer may be very similar to that level as well, so they can. But so we also have the saying, if you send to many people, receive many comments, it become what? Đéo cả giữa đường, right? You never have anything good coming out, so be careful who you send to. But that's a good suggestion. Like my student, I have many Vietnamese students in my lab. When they write the paper, I called them over and I said, I do not understand what you're talking about. And he said, and he explained to me the whole hour. I said, reviewer don't never call you and sit next to you to explain the paper. He said, I wrote it in here, why you don't see it? The important sentences never vary somewhere. It's not my job to dig into it. You have to put it in the place that I can see, right? The same thing if the university have a seminar, for example, they have a banner. They don't hide it, right? They have to find the place that when you walk in, you see right away. The same thing when people read your 5 minutes, they scan on it. You have to put the important sentence somewhere that you know that. They scan on it, they saw it right away, right? Now, if you think that this is not the research, write your paper is another research work, right? Yeah, but it's very important. All right, we clear with this? All right, so the main technical part. Any more questions about the introduction? Yes.
Just want to ask about what a hook look like in a conference paper, because here we were taught in the academic writing class that is a hook can be a question, a statistic, or like a quote, but in a conference paper, like how does it look like?
All right, so what the hook look like? So in the black meeting, it exactly look like the hook. All right, so she asking the hook should be in the form of question or not. That is what you're asking, right? No, the hook here, that it catches your interest, the reader interest. That's what I mean by the hook. How you write after the first page, you're able to hook them. That's what I meant, hook. So you're able to make the reader say that, our reviewer or whoever read your paper said that, haha, this has something I should really further. So it's like you're able to catch their attention. So that's what I meant to say. Yeah. And I think everything in your life, when you do, you always think of that as well, right? Right. So for example, you go to see the investor. How many of you see here? And you want to pitch. They don't have time for you to sit there to hear how novel your solution for 1 hour, right? 3 minutes, 5 minutes. They will decide, I give the money to these people or not, right away, right? Everything. Some man here approaching some girls, he also knows how to present himself, don't you think? Right? Okay, so I'm still talking about writing. I haven't go to the technical yet, but so here the main technical part of the writing itself. So typically, that's the typical structure, right? Problem definition and preliminary result and your solution and if you have theoretical analysis, it could be your theoretical analysis. If you have experimental evaluation, then experimental evaluation. So that is the layout typically. Of course, be flexible and be creative. All right. So here, let's say you have 5 reviewers. If you're lucky enough, you may have 2, have expertise, know your problem very deep. 3, have a general knowledge. Of course, they're doing PhD, so they have general knowledge, but they don't know exactly your field. So for example, you prove some theorem, you think that it's so hard, but you don't mention why, they don't appreciate. Unless the person who tried to prove that before, they will say, haha, this conjecture open for years, for example, they know, right? So you need to first convey your idea in a high level, the intuition of your idea, before you delve into the detail, right? So that's why I said, remember the peeling onion layer after layer. And here, when you talk more about technical, you can talk more the challenges and how you're able to do it deeper and deeper and deeper. All right? So remember to provide enough intuition, right? Especially people who I know some people here write very theoretical papers. You need to walk the reader to catch the novelty of your solution. Now, don't just take theorem and expect the proof and theorem, proof. They don't spend time to read your proof. They don't know how hard you prove. But you have to say a little bit, save yourself a little bit. Don't be shy. Yes.
Yes, this big problem now. I discussed many times with our college here at Piduni. Now our top conference is random process review. Review process, and I know that my paper will be reviewed by some PhD student, even some undergrad students. So how we have any comment on that?
All right. So that's also a myth. Some people said that undergraduate students review your paper. Actually, I heard, but I never saw that, so I don't know for sure. I know PhD students review that for sure, because I also asked my students review the paper. So that's typical, and that is the same level of you guys who write the paper anyway, because advisor do the advisor job. We don't actually write the whole paper. So undergraduate, I heard as well, but I don't know for real. But I would say that yeah, sometimes it's so unlucky for that random review process. It's hard to say, but as long as I believe that as long as you don't have any weaknesses for them to attack, it's hard for them, right? Then they will write very general comment, right? Yeah, but I don't have any clear comment for that part. All right. So again, do not let them guess. All right. So you have to walk your readers. And if your reviewers scan on the technical part without really read into it, can they still take away a message? Right? Yeah. So too bad, right? You will say that I spent almost a year on this work. They don't read it, and they keep saying ABC, right? Yeah. But that's how it works. They have too many paper to review, and you want to get in, you have to spend time on the writing as well, not just your technical solution, but also on your writing. Any questions so far? All right. All right, so here, if you have very complex solution, think of the way to draw some diagram or some figures. It could be very helpful for them to understand, right? So I will show some paper a little bit later on for you to see how this. All right, so again, this is a technical solution. Again, make sure it's solid, right? Right? You have to go back to each claim that you're about to claim in your introduction to make sure the body of your paper provide all solid evidence and support the claims. Because if it's not, then that is exactly the weaknesses of your paper they going to attack. That's why I said don't brag. If you get A plus A equal to A, then just say like that. There no A plus B, right? So be careful. So make sure that the paper is solid, right? And you ask yourself, any weaknesses, right? Some of weaknesses like, oh, I haven't solved the problem in this context. That way it can be for the future work. It's okay, right? But your problem, your paper have some other problem that you think that you need to pass them, then you have to go back to do more research, right? Don't eat the raw food uncooked one, right? So make sure that you have to go back to do more research and to make sure the paper is solid. So make sure your technical part is very solid, right? Before you go on. Okay, so do not do this. Oh, this is strong part my paper, but they don't see it. You know? I'll get rejected. It's so good paper, but they don't understand my paper. Then of course you can get upset, right? When you get the paper get rejected, you can be very upset. But then next day, you might think, what can I write better so that they can see this point? Why they don't see this point, right? What can I write better for that? So that's how you're able to strike for yourself and write higher quality papers, right? So remember that this be effective in your writing. You convey a message. So make sure that it's clear, cross the point, it's solid, right? And again, none of us get paid to review the paper, right? And if we get paid, why we spend time to read your paper, right? You have to have something for us to read, for reviewer to read. So just ask yourself that. Don't just go on and on and write the paper, right? So read what you write. And when you read what you write, read as a reviewer. Don't defend yourself, right? Don't think like, oh, you're the author, you understand exactly. Of course, you understand exactly your solution because you're the one who spent many months to have that solution. But imagine that your friend the first time saw this paper, can they understand what you write, right? Without a need of having you sit next to them and explain, right? And again, they don't read that long either. Now, so for the reject, it's very quick. They scan after introduction, they don't like it. There is some reason for them to write. But for the accept paper, they read. So don't accept your paper, do read your technical solution. Because now they like it, it looks good, it looks solid, it's interesting, now I get more into it. Of course, they don't sit there to verify your proof unless intuitively they can see something wrong in a philosophy way, or else they don't. But when people who accept your paper, they do read your technical solution. So don't think that no one read. Okay? But when they reject your paper, they don't even read the detail of your solution because they only have enough reason to reject. All right, so we've been talking the whole paper. Let's down to the paragraph. So what do you think of this paragraph if you quickly scan on it? It's too much, isn't it? Right? It's too much. So on the paper, maybe a little bit better, but on the screen like this, it's too much. Right? If it's the PowerPoint slide, you see the bullet, right? This is feel too much. So the same thing when you look at your paper and you look at a paragraph and you say, oh, too much. What they want to tell me? Look, I need to read to understand what they tell me. I don't want it. I have 1 minute. So how do people read your introduction in 1 minute? Do you know how they read?
They look at the contribution at the end of the sections.
All right, so if they read your contribution only, it means they already know the problem very well, right? If they don't know the problem yet, they need to read the problem definition as well, and the challenges as well, and so on and so on and so on, more than 1 minute, right? If you read the whole page. So how do they read? Yes. Yes. For each paragraph, the first sentence is introduction sentence. All the middle sentences is developed into support that opening sentence. And then the last sentences is the conclusion, or sometimes they drop that sentence. So if they read every single first sentence of each paragraph together, that is the whole introduction you want to tell them. So they just read. If you have 5 paragraphs, they read your 5 sentences, or maybe the ending sentence as well. That is 1 minute reading. So I make many people write the whole paragraph, have many messages inside. That's why the losses, they don't know. And then they come back, oh, I have it here. You bury somewhere, and whatever you have in here, it has nothing to do with the opening sentence of that paragraph. That's why I don't read. All right, so one paragraph, one message. All right. So if you write and you read back by yourself, you click all the first sentence together of each paragraph, you cannot get the picture. It means something wrong with your writing. Rewrite it or revise it. All right. So that's why I said down to a paragraph. So let me see if I have some. Okay, I will talk about the problem later. So let me talk about the. Can I share something else? I share the whole screen luôn đâu. Em share the whole screen. Cái gì mở ha? Split screen rồi. Em split screen hai cái. Any questions so far about the writing? Is there anything new that you learned? Any? But the writing alone, it doesn't work either, right? You need to have a very good solution as well. The writing is just like just the beauty, like people said, don't judge the book by its cover, right? But of course, but if you but the book looks so ugly, no one pick it up either. So, but if you write very beautifully, very nicely, but your solution is nothing, they go nowhere as well, right? So we will talk about the solution for now, but I focus more on writing because you all care about writing, right? So, but I will talk a little bit later. So when we try to solve this technical problem, I go on a little bit. So we have problem, research solution, and the writing, right? So now let's go back to the problem. All right. So your test. So there are two types of problems out there. If you want to get first rank, come from paper. Either very fundamental core problems, so challenges open out there for years, right? And you're able to solve it with very fancy solution. Yes, if that's solid, correct solution, I guarantee you, with good writing, your paper will get in, right? That's one way. That kind of paper very hard. Very challenging because why not want to get it done? It must be very hard to find. The second one is should be some type of hard, trendy topic. Of course, have good solution. I don't mean that you come up with problem without solution, but should be hot and trendy topic. So why the problem is so interesting? Why the conference want this kind of paper for people to go there and to present that paper? Because the conference also want to show they're up to date as well, right? So research in computer science, unfortunately, is a little bit like fashion show. So it keep changing. It's the same thing. So now the question many of you ask, how do I know which one is hot and trendy topic? Because by the time I jump in, it's many papers out there already, right? So how? Because if you look at this, like let's say in machine learning, we have TBI, IJK, ICML, new RIPS, AI state, UAI, so several already, right? So by the time you notice a problem, you go to that conference, you see a bunch of paper, and then you take time to develop your solution, right up, submit somewhere, it's another year, and you don't feel it's that new anymore. So how you're able to catch the wave when it comes, rather than follow it, how? Sense. Yes, yeah, my sense and experience. One thing we can know is where is the funding go? So I'm not doing research in Vietnam, so I don't know much. But in US, we look at most of the call that just come out from NSF or Department of Defense, from NSF, National Science Foundation, what the interest in. Because what the interest in exactly for that next 3 years, most paper about that topic. Because what the interest in, they will quickly develop prelim result to write the proposal on that topic and say, hey, I have the solution here. Give me more money, I develop better solution. So that's how we know it's about to attack. For example, years back, like 7 years, 8 years ago, I jumped into explainable AI, right? Because I noticed that most of the paper at that time, machine learning just get hot again, right? Well, machine learning was there for many decades, and it would die down a little bit until deep learning AI, and until deep learning come out, and then AI machine learning become popular again. So it's popular that people publish paper in the way that apply to A, B, C domain, X, Y, Z domain, get paper, right? And then we noticed that if you apply apply machine learning without any explanation, it's hard for the doctor believe in your prediction. So someone need to explain. And then we saw Department of Defense call that one, and they use the word interpretable machine learning or explainable AI. And then we say, hey, this must be the one that for the next couple of years, everybody had to work on it. And then we jump to that problem. So it's new. You can get the funding. You can publish the paper, right? But it's not easy though. That comes with experience as well, right? To somewhat predict what's going to happen. So for that one, it's slightly easier rather than you tackle a very well-known open problem, right? And so make sure you show your vision, right? And show your test, right? Look challenging. That is a challenging problem. But the good news here is, for most of you who so junior researcher, student, don't worry. That's the job of your advisor.
You are in US, so you are easier to get such kind of information. But how we can get such kind of information and such sense? Yes, when we are in Vietnam, we don't have such information. Yes.
All right. So the website I mentioned is open. So maybe I will share some link. So you go for the more NSF, so www.nsf.gov, and you go to CIC, or you get funding, calling for program in CIC, Computer Information Science and Engineering, and you saw the call. So every year they revise the call. Some call is just default, it's again, but sometimes they call a new program. So we learn the same way. So we go there to check the program. So everyone can check, even here you can check. Yeah, so that's how you can see all the relevant call on that whatever topic. So for example, now you don't see much paper in the first rank conference get accepted by applied machine learning to XYZ domain. You don't see that anymore because they are talking about, I need theoretical proof of your model. Prove to me that your model works. Don't tell me experiment 89% correct anymore. And even the call from NSF also asking for that fundamental and verifiable. So then we will stop doing that kind of paper. Yeah. So, but that's how we find, because we need to define a little bit early, or else when it get out a year later, and then you jump in, it takes you some time to read all the related paper, come up solution. Even 1 year pass, even 2 years by that time, then it's harder. Yeah. So can we compare head to head? Okay. So no way, huh? So let me do this. So this one. So this is the first somewhere second, third version or something of one of my paper. So I don't make you read too much. I just go down to the technical solution. This is technical solution. Yeah. So if I move down, I can move or no? No, where the machine, where the screen. Okay, yeah, let me control this. Đâu thấy con chuột bên này đâu. Ok, rồi giờ vậy làm sao qua bên này? Không, chị muốn nhìn cái paper đâu. Sao bây giờ nó đang làm prelim hả? Nhỏ quá. Is this a final version or cái đó final hay là cái gì? Cái này không. Okay, để mở ra bây giờ. Đáp xong chưa? Ui, có lớp à? The key message. All right, so I want to show something, but it's a little bit hard to navigate. I should have prepared the slide. But what I'm trying to tell you that this version, that not the, this is a final version, huh? Version 3 final, this is a final version. Somewhere in here, there's a version so that if when my student wrote that before we submit the paper, if I scan on it, I don't understand what the paper is about. So I simply just tell him that, can you make me understand the paper? Of course, I understand our technical because we do research, but I imagine that I'm a reviewer who read 5 minutes. I said, I don't know what this paper all about. He come home and then a week later, he come up with this version, the last version here, of course, after several revising, and he kept some very nice feature to explain a very complicated solution. Somewhere the feature is, let me try to find that one. Em đi lên đi xuống nó có cái hình vẽ của cái solution, maybe at beginning. Yeah, version 3, the final version. Đi lên hoặc đi xuống vậy. Chị nghĩ là đi lên này. Cannot see the mouse anywhere. Chị không biết đi lên hay đi xuống nhưng mà. Introduction, xuống. Introduction rồi. Yeah, xuống là the technical solution. Đây, okay. So this was a couple of years ago when we come up a new explanation for GNN. That is the first word on explanation, GNN. So when we were talking explanation in GNN, they don't know what we need to explain. So we draw a feature to explain how we explain. So without reading the solution, they know, this is an important part that you need to explain. Just look at the diagram, right? Picture say 1,000 words, right? All right. So, but that is just an example to understand what we want to do. But how we do the solution, then we go down here, we have another feature. Just go down a little more. Yes, yeah, that feature. This took him 2 weeks to come up with this. And I said, I know what exactly you're doing, so I don't even need to read into section 3.1, section 3.2, section 3.4, so on down here, right? I understand the relationship between all your solutions and how you do it. So it gives me the big picture of how this complex solution is. And now if I try to understand more, then of course I read more in here and all the technical, the proof and theorem, everything in detail here. But this, the whole thing here make people understand. Because if they don't understand your paper, they will raise very weird questions, right? They might think that, you did something wrong. But from the logical point of view, if they don't understand, they can picture the wrong thing. Yeah, so that's what I want to show for this one. And it's not simple to come up with a picture that is, say, 1,000 words. You can draw many pictures, but the picture that actually a good picture, I can see that you understand the problem or not. If you don't truly understand problem, your picture is wrong. You can tell, right? So it's really hard to come up with a picture, very creative, and it also needs to be solid. I have more examples to show, but I think it's so complicated to pull PDF files, so I stopped showing an example here. Let's go back to the slide, because it's hard to show. Yeah, Hiểu ơi cho chị cái slide lại đi. So, are you overwhelmed with what I'm talking? Or you get something new? Or there's nothing new? Or interesting is a nice word to say. It doesn't make a compliment, right? Em cho lại chị slide đi. Yeah. Tại vì it's so hard to, so yeah. I pulled out some paper and I even asked my student, can you go back to previous version, the history of the paper to show the one before I asked you to revise. So I meant to show you so you see the differences. But it's so hard to navigate here, so let's just continue with this. Okay, so go back here. 12, huh? 12. Anh cho chị cái full view luôn, nếu mà hiểu. All right, so we are done with writing, right? So now you guys can feel like you're master in writing already. Okay, it takes time, but that I hope that I can give you some guidelines. So from there you can polish your writing together with your advisor. But you cannot write on nothing, right? You have to have something to write. So that's a very important seed, that the vision of the problem, right? So what problem you want to solve? That I talk a little bit when we have a technical problem here, so I already mentioned. So the whole thing that the problem you study, why. So as I mentioned already, so I briefly go over this. So either fundamental problem that I mentioned with a very out-of-the-box solution, right? Or a new hot trending problem. So I already mentioned that how to define, how to raise to 10. Because until they come out a lot, most of the time you end up to add just a little gradient and the problem becomes quite incremental. So regardless what, when they read the paper, they say, oh, it's not similar. Somebody do it just a little bit different somewhere else. Second way that way. So I already mentioned that, and we can go to NSF. They only need to see the random plot. So I skip on that, and I also made a joke. It's your advisor's job, it's not your job. All right, all my students during their senior year, they should be able to come up with the problem by themselves, or else they're not going to graduate. So in my lab, at least 3 to 4 first rank conference paper, able to write one good paper without me telling you to do anything. And come up with a solution, come up with the problem definition by yourself. Then you're ready to advise your new student. Then they can get out. All right. So now you know how to write. Yeah, advisor help you with a good problem definition. Then the hard part for you, and that is the job. It's not your advisor's job. It's to develop the solutions, right? All right. So here, think slowly, right? Come up with the somewhat out of the box solution. Do not contest. Contain your own quotation model, for no one contains exactly, right? But don't say that, you saw this paper, so problem A. You come up with a problem A problem, very similar to problem A. The solution in that paper, problem A, you also add the problem in it, and you have solution on your paper. That's what I mean, cut and paste. Then slightly modify. That goes nowhere, right? You may fool someone if they don't know the paper A, if you don't cite. Right? Maybe for the world, I may not know that exists, but it's not good, right? Even you successfully peer review, if you ignore that paper, let's say your paper published, one published is there forever. So now imagine who dig into your paper to figure out you cut and paste. You think who? Let's say you follow the paper A, you don't cite that paper A. You talk like your solution. Reviewer don't know that. Get your paper published. Okay? So you know who did in your paper to figure out that context. your author paper. He may not even know that paper exists. But that's good. Who else? Yes, researcher interest in that problem is not looking into literature. Right? And then once you publish, your name is there. Don't do reputation. If you don't care about your reputation, care about your advisor reputation because it ruined her or his career too. Right? So do not contest. So even you modify and you sign up paper A, more than likely your paper not going to get accepted. So don't spend time trying to modify an existing solution to a very similar problem. Right? So don't do that. All right. However, of course, knowledge is connected, right? Like before you study math, you study 1 plus 1, you don't understand why, you need to know 1 plus 1. Later on, you study the derivative that have letter and integral, and you don't know why. But eventually later on, you see why, right? So everything connected. However, here, look, you see some tool, let's say in math, right? And you saw how that tool can be used to solve this problem that you're going to study in computer science. And no one ever borrowed that tool to solve this problem yet. That's called novelty. Because you're the one who found that link. And of course, it cannot cut and paste because when you try to solve it, you have to modify and to recruit something to make work here. But that I said, oh, I never thought that tool can solve this problem. Then that is new, right? That two people that decided, right? But whoever borrowed that tool solve this problem, now you borrow the same tool, so very similar problem, it's not new anymore. Right? So it is sometimes when we say new solution here, it doesn't mean that you scratching everything and you write something from very basic all the way up. We don't mean like that. But we mean like if you use some tool, that tool people haven't used it yet. Right? And especially haven't used two very similar problems with you. Because if it's similar, then it sounds very implementable. Right? I don't have more advice on it because this is your job, your 4 or 5 year PhD, yes.
If I improve often existing solution and to make it better for my specific setting, so can it go novel?
Very good question. Indeed, many papers have that kind of style, combining existing solution to your solution, right? And how to define novel. So now let me ask you this. If you play Lego, right? You bought the box of Lego, you go home, you block things together to build a car or a train model, right? So, so how hard, is there anything that requires you to think, or you just simply block and make it work? Yes. So yeah, when I mean plan language, you come up yourself. I don't mean you understand and you follow exactly what they tell you to do and you block in and you just do the engineering work, but you just do a boring job. That I know with that, but I mean like set Lego and you can do different kind of model, right? So you use this business block, but how to block them together, that part is something new. So when you combine this solution, it's so straightforward, like the engineering work. No, no one cares. The industry might care because you develop some good solution, some attractive, some through their problem, then it's good. But that remaining engineering part, not about writing a paper. That still have value, but a different kind of value, right? But when you block it together, it's not simply block, it doesn't run, right? You need to do something to make work. Then that part and how hard to make work, how hard to block things together, that part is decided novelty of your solution. And many papers out there are very similar to each other, block here, block there. So your job is just to show you that any book I need to do, or I simply just come by existing. If you cannot convince the reviewer that you do something on top, that something is so important, then your paper is out. Thanks for that question, though. Any other question?
It's time for questions. It's all trying to interact on it.
I can share the experience unless if you ask me question, I else I don't know what to share.
Next questions.
So what is the takeaway message? After more than an hour of hearing me. Yes.
I have a question about writing the mathematics in the paper because when we involve something like need to prove, we need to make it maybe more rigorous or maybe more convincing. So how do we do that in some case that I know the idea, but when I express it, it's very hard for me to express a formula. I tend to like illustrate my idea with a picture more than the formulation. So how to make it like more rigor, more convincing?
All right, so your question is that when you write something about math and the equation, you have to make, and your proof have to make more rigorous, right, and convinces. I have an opposite feeling. I think that writing English is harder than writing math formula because math has one form, it's either wrong or right. When English you write and they can interpret many ways. But one thing I can advise you here is that make it as simple as possible. You don't need to make your problem look so complicated. So reduce number of notation. And one thing you call X, call X, don't sometimes call X here, call Y there, call Z later, and the set of the letter, the capital represent a set, the capital letter for symbol like that. So simplify your notation. And then again, if the proof is so complicated, break it out. Like for the theorem is so complicated, then break into a couple lemmas before you combine those lemmas to solve your theorem, right? So you can do that. And then in the main paper, just get the overview idea how to prove, and then through everything else later to the appendix, for example.
So I want to ask about the procedure. Like, should I start with the introduction or should I start with the proposed approach?
All right. Somebody give you a problem, and the advisor give you a problem. You spend day and night to get your solution. Then you stop the writing, right? So you write after you get solution. However, as I mentioned earlier, in some cases, you think what you want to write. Your solution have to able to solve the three probability, for example. That make you think, when you develop solution, you should be able to tackle this. So sometimes think of what you write. Also have to do research, try to set your goal, what you want to do with the solution. But if you really truly sit down and write the paper, then of course you have to have solution first and the experience and all that to know what is the major claim that you can claim in the paper. Yes. This PhD student have many questions.
Thank you very much for sharing very interesting experience. So may I have a question? How do you train your student for your new students? So how to train them?
Thank you for question. So when she asked that question, I know she's not a student, right? So to be correct, I joked, but you all know her, right? So she is also a professor in how to say that in English. Đại học Bách khoa Hà Nội. Yeah, yeah. So I joke she's student because she look like student. So. All right. So her question: how do I train my student? How did I train you? Do you remember? Self-study. Actually, I don't have a formula for that because different students have different characters. I need to work around with them as well. They choose me as advisor, so they don't need to work around me because they have only one advisor. But I have many different students, so each of them have different characters. Some of them like just threw them the problem and done. They sit there, they do day and night, and one beautiful day, suddenly they come back with the whole paper done. And then I just help them to revise the paper and make sure the writing is good. But some of them I have to have every week meeting and guiding them like a kindergarten. So it depends on different students. But I always want my students to become independent. So a very first year, for example, so I try to balance things. So everyone want to publish paper. So my first year student, I never set the goal for them to have first rank conference paper, because more than likely that paper get rejected and they will feel sad, feel down, especially, they came and they said, oh, I was the excellent student, honor student, graduate #1 in my university, and now the paper cannot get in, and it killed their self-esteem. So usually I let them work on easier problem. Sometimes they collaborate with other students. If I let them work on the same topic, sometimes they work by themselves on one single topic, but I set a lower level for them, a similar problem. The goal is that to make sure they read all the literature. So that's the whole goal for literature. But still want them to have one paper so they feel that they did get one product done, rather than tell them, read the paper. Because if you give them the problem, then they know what kind of paper they should focus on reading. But if you tell them, hey, survey the whole field, then they keep reading without thinking. And here, when I say reading, I mean that read and question. Question every single thing you read. That's how you read paper. I give a talk on how to read paper before, by the way. So, and if you like this, it's a scanner, right? You put in the scanner, shoo, it's done. So, so scanner don't question. So read the paper, question everything. My advisors told me the first day when I come to his lab, you read one paper, you should be able to write one paper. Yes. So don't come to him and say that I finished reading paper. If we said that, oh, I finished reading paper, he said, so what is problem definition you going to write? No. So when he meant read one paper, it end up read 20 papers. Because in order to understand every single thing in that paper, and question and answer, I end up read many paper. So that's why I said read one paper, you have to able to write one paper. Yeah, so that is the job. Your job to give him that paper. Now give him or her that paper. Yeah, but every single paper, bad or good, sometimes we read bad paper. You still can question. Actually, bad paper also have some positive things. Sometimes they get out not because of their solution, but the problem itself. The author somehow come up with very interesting problem, but the solution is kind of basic, because then you say, aha, now I have better solution, much better solution for this very similar problem. So you question yourself, why they started this? Why they solve it? Why they prove this one? Can I have better proof? Can I have better solution? Why the problem? It's not practical. I come up with better version. That gives you a problem. Yeah. So question everything you read and don't trust the author. If they say ABC, it may not ABC. The same thing experience. Sometimes it doesn't exactly what they portray, because when you report the statistics, the data, they don't lie. What we don't lie here, but you find the way to report the data that make your solution look good, right? Then you question why they report data in this way, but not this way, because this way have something wrong, not good. It means that the weaknesses of the paper, that is something you can tackle, right? So how to read the paper? So that is truly reading. So yeah, sorry that you asked me how I train my students. I go on something else, but so my students usually have 4 to 5 years. I told them the goal. First day, literature for first rank conference paper. The last year, write the paper without me say a single word, and still get published. I don't revise anything. You devise your own solution, your own problem definition, then you're ready. And I also said 4 to 5 years, longer than that, I cannot pay. And then you on your own. Yes.
Could you tell some information about some major conference in machine learning, AI, and how hard it is to publish the paper in edX exam?
Okay. So the popular one we all know is ICML, NURIPS. ICML stands for International Conference on Machine Learning, right? So I just say acronym because I don't remember the long name, but the ICML, NURIPS, Triple AI, IJKI, but they're not so good anymore, but they're still in the first rank. Oh, here, good way to answer you. There's the website, csrankings.org. Okay, csrankings.org. They are the list of first rank conference for every single thing: machine learning, networking, system, database, data mining, and so on. So CS commercial rankings s.org or Google, and then you get the right link. Yeah, so right there. So acceptance rate is hard to say. It's probably around 20 to 29%. It's actually a pretty big number, but you know why? Because a lot of paper is junk. People just submit. So that's why the number feel like big, but it's not. Yeah. So, but it's quite challenging, right? It's quite challenging. It's a real work to get the paper out.
Yeah. A broader question: how did you select the PhD student? If you got a huge number of applications, you look at the CV and she or he does have any top ranked conference paper. Yeah. And what do you think if they don't have any top conference paper?
Yeah. So yeah. I agree because they don't have top conference, and I don't require a student apply to my lab have a conference paper. By the way, yeah, I don't need in the CV say that they publish a paper first rank or not. I really don't care because some students never have a chance to write a paper. I do look at the GPA and all the record in the past a little bit, but it just says something, but it's not everything, right? So here, how I honestly say how. All right, depend on the luck as well. Sometimes so busy for this whole week, I almost don't open my email. Right, this whole week I'm travel here. I'm so busy. When I come back, your email buried somewhere down here, like 10,000 email. I never ever read your email, so that you don't have luck, unless you write again and it's go on top of my mailbox. Then I see it. So some student ask me, "Oh, I contact you before, you never responded." Just because I was on a trip somewhere. When I come back, too many many emails. I ended up did not dig into it. All right, so that is sorry for the luck part. All right, for the real part, I usually respond. I scan on CV, and I have feeling based on experience and sense that student look good or not. Now look, I care a lot detail. If you don't enlighten your CV, you don't make your CV look beautiful like an artwork. To me, you're not going to be good at writing, and you don't know how to write. It will be a nightmare to train you to write. Okay, so some student sent to me, and he couldn't pay somewhere, and his CV he's a math student, so he tried to apply CS. So he modified his CV. He couldn't paste, and he said that CS skill, Microsoft Word. Then I know that he couldn't pay and he even delete, right? Or you misspelling on your CV. That is so bad. Imagine your CV is just your face, the first thing you send to someone else, and you misspell. Let alone how you do research, right? So I pay attention to the detail. So after they look a good CV, have a good recommendation, people have some experience, have some like Olympia, silver or medal. Most of my students indeed have the Olympia award, even mathematics or informatics. So and top number one, not 1%, one, right? Graduate, most of them. So look good. So your CV look beautiful, right? Then I respond, right? I respond with usually 3 sentences. Go to my website, pick any of my paper, open parenthesis, show me your text. Write a critique, show me how much you understand my paper, and send back to me your report as soon as you can. Show me how your hard work. That's all. All my email respond normally like that. So some students within 2 days, they say back, "Oh, really hardworking person," right? And I look at the way they do my paper, very simple paper. Oh, I know you, lazy, right? Do very tough one, yeah, ambitious one, that kind. So after the right review, right? And then now I start call for an interview. and that how go with my sense. So I don't know how tough here, being professor here. Can I finish?
Yeah, I think.
Okay, let's go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I know that you want to keep our professor here for forever, but to share, continue sharing, but with time is running out. And actually, Professor me got a little bit sick, and she need to take a flight right after the talk. And I would love to, stop the seminar here. And we really, appreciate your time and your sharing one more time. So please join me to, thanks to Professor here. I know it's. And I hope that you learn, very real experience on how you can write a good paper. And after that, I already asked permission from Professor Me to share, the slides if you love to have it, and for all everyone. So thank you very much, chị Me, again. And
Oh yeah, I did not pay attention that. I talk too much.
right, we have 1 hour, but we have, because the topic is so interesting. So we like to have a group photo together with Professor Me. Let's go come here and we have a photo together. Thank you.